Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff, business and high performance conversations that add real depth and value to the way bold leaders live, work, and thrive. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a leader so that you can grow a business that is profit-rich, efficient, and allows you to generate real, tangible wealth for yourself and others. We are here to help you lead with your values, to perform without overwhelm and burnout, and to do your most important work in the world. Hey, bold leaders. Welcome to another episode of the Bold Money Revolution podcast. If you're new here to this podcast, welcome. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm an expert in organizational psychology, a business strategist, and a certified profit first consultant. Through this podcast, I share honestly and transparently about what it takes to build a bold profit business and become a small business owner that leverages their infinite earning potential to generate real, tangible wealth. And what we are talking about today is really a conversation around sales, but it is to do with leads. Because the one thing that I hear repeatedly from business owners is that they have no leads, or they need more leads. Whatever that language is, it's a refrain of not enough around their leads. So what I'm doing here today is giving you a real practical example of something that I'm experiencing right now in my life, and I want to walk you through how this is kind of playing out. And I think it's actually a really great example of how people could be doing a better job at taking somebody from maybe being unknown to them. So maybe it's a referral that you don't know somebody has mentioned you to. Maybe it's a listener on your podcast. Maybe it's somebody in your social audience or whatever, and then turn them into a lead and then into a buyer. So for me at the moment, I am considering buying a car. My lease is up, and I'm considering buying a used car. The reason I'm considering buying a used car is because I'm looking to do some different things with my money. And I think that for me, as someone who doesn't really care so much about what they drive, who doesn't even drive all that much, I drive like around town, I kind of find having a car a bit of a waste of a resource. And how can I make better use of the money that I'm putting into my lease to help that grow for me? So what I want to do is I want to save money on my lease, and I want to invest that into cash generating assets. So I mentioned to somebody, I said, I'm looking, I think I'm going to buy a used car when my lease is up. And they said, oh my gosh, that's amazing. You have to talk to my friend Mike. He can get you any car you want at the price you want to pay. Fantastic. I know this person who gave me the referral. I highly trust them. They said that Mike changed his name to protect the innocent. They said that Mike has been a long-term friend of theirs and that I should give him a call, and they gave me the phone number. So now I have Mike's number, but I have not reached out to him yet. Why? Right? Why haven't I reached out to Mike yet? Well, my lease isn't up until June, and it doesn't feel particularly urgent to me right now. And a buyer, someone who's going to be a buyer, has to have an urgent need, that urgent problem that they need solved. So currently, I'm not a prospective buyer. I'm a potential lead. I'm not even officially a lead because this guy, Mike, doesn't have my information, and he doesn't have a way to contact me to get more information from me, right? So why aren't I an actual lead? He doesn't know I exist. This is why it's really important, in my opinion, that we have email lists, because that's a way for somebody to give us some information that allows us to stay in touch with them, that allows us to start better conversations with them than just on social. Now, of course, have I had people who have bought from me off of social media who have not been on my email list? 100%, absolutely. That happens. I consider the whole podcast, social media, email list, an ecosystem that I am kind of toggling between. But ultimately, ideally, I want to capture this person as an official lead so I can continue having that conversation with them. Now, his friend suggested I contact him, and I don't have a lot of urgency right now. But what I do have right now is a need for information. So because Mike doesn't know I exist, he can't get me the information that I need. Also, clearly, Mike is doing business in a very traditional format and isn't putting out any content to help me get the information that I need to take the next step with him. So see, that is how our content works for us, is it kind of does the job, a sales job, before we even get people to us. It's helping them identify and assess whether or not they're going to purchase from us, whether or not they actually have the problem that we solve, and whether or not now is the right time for it to be solved. So, for example, all I keep seeing is how expensive used cars are right now. Is that true? I don't know. I would like to have that information. How do I assess if now, given what we're seeing in the economic climate, is the right time to buy a car? And we're considering buying out my lease. Is that a good choice? What are the things that I should be considering between buying out a lease versus buying a used car? How long is it going to take me to find the car that I want? See, there's information that I need that would be helpful in whether or not I'm going to be taking these next steps with Mike. Now, I could absolutely pick up the phone and call Mike and ask him. Except, I really friggin' hate calling people. Really. I don't like it. It's not my jam, right? How do your best fit clients like to receive information? How do they like to engage with you? Are they people who want to be picking up a phone, or are they people who want to be able to read information, listen to information, and then make decisions whether or not they're going to take a next step based on that? Because let's face it, we're all busy. Our time and our energy is going elsewhere. I don't need to get on a call with somebody and starting with small talk. That's my worst fear. Clearly, I'm an introvert. However, it's also just been the holiday season. I've had a lot on my plate. My family's just been sick. Right? There's other things that are precluding me from picking up that phone, but I could still be getting the information if Mike was giving it out in some way. Also, that might attract me to give him my email information so that I become an actual lead. Because so some people might be like, well, Tara, if you're not going to pick up the phone and call him, are you really his best fit client? Actually, I am, because I'm decisive. I have money. I'm seriously questioning my never-ending lease payments. I would be a good fit for Mike to have a conversation with. So how can Mike make this sale without knowing I even exist? All right, so the first thing he needs to do is get me from floating around out in Never Never Land where he doesn't even know I'm here to being a lead. So for him, it would be giving better instructions to the people in his referral network, right? So if he had said to his friend, from time to time, you might come across someone looking to buy a car. I'm specifically looking for folks who are really questioning these never-ending lease payments. And right now, they might even be questioning what they're hearing on the news. They might be wondering, is this even a good time to be buying a used car? So I created this helpful PDF, how to know if turning in your lease and buying a car is a smart financial move in 2022. If you know anyone who can benefit from this, here is the link where they can download this PDF, or you can just easily email me with their information, and you can even connect them on the email with me, and then I can take it from there, right? So we want to make sure that we're always capturing that information, which is why it really is important that you have some kind of lead magnet, opt-in, freebie that speaks to an issue that your best fit client is having, and then you promote it and you share it and you ask people to share it if they're in your referral network, right? And so you're capturing leads. This is very effective. I know it sounds really simple, but we grew our email list by 92% last year. And I think that we increased our new contacts by 165% by organic methods. And this being one of them is just routinely communicating that entry point, that opt-in that we have over and over and over again, right? So that's one way that now I'm like, oh, he's answering my exact question, but did you see how specific he was? He's not looking to sell to anybody. He has specifically heard what so many people are saying to him in the sense that they don't know, is this the right time to buy? And he's going to give us some data and information and help us discern whether now is the right time in the economy to be buying a used car. So he's speaking very clearly to his best fit client. Now, who could he be reaching out to for referral partners? Who knows people who might be having this question? Accountants, financial planners, bankers, friends and family, other people in his community. And the second they start talking like, yeah, they're on the side of the soccer field, right? Yeah, I'm thinking about turning in my lease, and buying a car, but who knows with the way things are in the economy right now. Every newspaper article I read is talking about like the cost of used cars, right? Then they'd be like, hey, you should talk to my buddy Mike. He's got a PDF on this that will help you decide not whether or not you want to buy from him per se, but like, is it the right time, right? He's going to give you some useful information. So I'm like, awesome, great. I sign up. I now have the PDF. I'm now a lead. What does Mike need to do to turn this lead into a sale? He needs to start a conversation. We are all overlooking how simple this is. You need to start a conversation. That's how sales happen, right? And I know that there's a lot of us who have maybe we're introverted, right? Like me. And you think, hey, like, great, like I have all these online tools. I don't actually have to have conversations with people. I don't like them anyway. And, I can just send them emails and spam them with links and just like post, 3 times a day on Instagram, and they're just going to automatically book calls with me. That's not actually how it happens. Sorry, it's not. However, it doesn't also have to be hard. So what Mike's next step is, I'm going to tell you what his next step is. I download, he has my email. He sends me an email. He doesn't even need to have like a nurture sequence. He's going to send me an email. Hey, Tara, I see you downloaded my guide. When is your lease up? That's it. That's a conversation that's appropriate for him to start, right? Hey, Tara, I saw you downloaded my guide. When is your lease up? I'm having a problem he can solve. That is why I have downloaded his thing. I don't need a gazillion forms of nurture now. I just need to have a conversation, and I need him to make the conversation easy for me to have. That's actually value added, right? So I'm really excited that Mike made contact with me. I don't need to open an email, start an email, ask him questions that I'm not even really sure I know. Like, I'm not even really sure what questions to ask at this point. So right out of the gates, I really like Mike. He just made my life so easy. So I respond, June. That's it. One word, June. What does he do with that? He now responds back. He says, great. That's the perfect amount of time to get you something you really love for a great price point that fits your budget. Any idea what you want your next car to be? Okay, how easy is this? Right? Now I am a prospect. Now I am a prospective buyer because I'm in a conversation with Mike, and he's starting to understand where I am in my buying process, what my needs are, what my urgency is. He got a lot of information just from asking those 2 simple questions. And that's information that I do have and that I can give him. He's not asking me anything really complicated, right? So for Mike to make this sale, I need to have a problem he can solve. I have to be in alignment around what our beliefs are on key points, right? So, he has to believe that buying a used car right now is a good idea because I'm looking for someone who's going to give me information around buying a car right now is a good idea. Now, he could be somebody who's lacking confidence and he might be like, gee, I don't know if now's the best time for me to be selling used cars, the economy, and they're kind of more expensive right now. But that's not the energy that he needs to be leaning into. He needs to be leaning into finding the reasons why now is the best time. And he can find them. He's an expert. He knows. He's been doing this a long time, right? So he can help me weigh the pros and cons. I need to be able to afford the car. If I can't afford a used car, or I don't have an ability to take out financing for a car, really no point in Mike continuing this conversation with me because that would be a giant waste of his time. Also, he needs to know, am I the decision maker? Or am I going to get all this information from him, build this relationship from him, and then toss it in, say, I don't know, my husband's lap and be like, Mike, really, John's going to make this decision. So I know you've spent all this time building a relationship with me and giving me this information, but John's going to make the decision now. And what John might be interested in might be completely different than what I'm interested in. And this actually happened when we were putting in our pool. And the salesperson was sitting down to have this conversation about our pool with us. And he says, would you like to see how the pool gets put in, the process of what it's going to look like in your backyard while we're here working? And my husband's like, no, I know what that looks like. Talk to me about the tech. Where can I get the app that goes on my phone that helps me manage the chlorine while I'm sitting watching, Succession and drinking my scotch? Because that's a very Succession thing to do, is to drink scotch and watch it. Anyway, so I was like, whoa, wait a second. I actually do want to see what it's going to look like. One, I've never experienced having an in-ground pool put in. John lived in a home where there was a pool, and he did experience that. He's also not home all day. I'm working from home. He's working from an office. So I absolutely want to know what's happening in my backyard while I'm trying to record podcast episodes, right? How disruptive is this going to be? So, and again, John and I have really different viewpoints on cars as well. He really is a car guy. I'm not. So the thing he's interested in about a car are going to be very different than me going, is it going to get me to the tutoring center where I need to take my kids twice a week or not, right? It's a different perspective. So you need to know who that decision maker is, and you need to understand who you're talking to. And we need personal urgency. We need this to be important to the person now, because when those things happen, people are more likely to buy from us. So the other thing, and the final thing that I really want to talk about, is what can Mike control and what is not in Mike's control in making this sale. So first of all, right now, nothing is in his control because I'm floating around in Never Never Land. He doesn't know I exist, right? So that's the first thing that Mike can control. Mike can control whether or not he is putting something out there that attracts his best fit clients to give them some information so that he can make contact with them, right? Our opt-ins, freebies, lead magnets, whatever you want to call them. But we want to make sure that they're speaking to that very specific thing and that they're somewhat qualifying our prospects, our leads as we go. So for example, he's talking about, is this the best time to buy a used car in 2022? So if someone's like, well, I'm not buying a car in 2022, that's going to disqualify them, as it should, because he only wants to be talking to people who have this need right now. And it's also not applicable to people who are looking to lease a car, because he's not a car person. He's not someone who leases cars. He's someone who sells used cars. So we want to be qualifying them as best we can along the way. So what Mike has control over, he has a way to capture a lead. He knows the information that qualifies his lead. He starts conversations. These are all things that he has control over. He asks good questions. When is your lease up? What kind of car are you interested in buying? Right? He follows up until he receives a no. That is within his control. To continue to stay in contact with me and follow up with me, asking the right questions to lead me either to make the decision to buy a used car from him or to not buy a used car or to, not buy one from him. Until he gets a no, there's still an opportunity for him to make this sale. Also, his knowledge and understanding of who his best fit buyer is within his control. And I can't say this enough. You need to understand who your best fit clients are. You need to understand how they're thinking, what they're saying, how they're feeling, what their concerns and hesitations are. You need to understand them like you'll be able to play them as a method actor. And I was just watching the Harry Potter reunion episode on HBO Max, and Emma Watson, they were talking obviously about one of the challenges being that they were in these roles for 10 years. There were 7 movies that they had to make over a 10-year span, which started when, oh my gosh, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you should watch it. They were itty bitty. They were babies. Like, I don't even know how they even got them to get through their lines. It was like probably herding cats. There were these itty bitty babies to adults, to mature adults. And Emma Watson was saying it was like the most challenging method acting because they almost didn't know who they were anymore. Like Emma didn't know who Emma was after 10 years because of how long and extreme it was that she was playing Hermione, right? And so she was so into Hermione's character. Now, obviously, we don't want you to lose touch with who you are. But the point is that we want you to understand your best fit buyers to that level of a degree so that you can be speaking to them and understanding what's happening for them every step of the way. What are those common trigger points for them that they might be impacted by? So for me, right now, it's a whole subset of women business owners who are feeling a lot of pressure on them from the last 2 years. They're probably 3 to 5 years in to their business. And they're like, I need to make this work. It's time. They're watching maybe even some of their friends who are in professional careers get huge increases because of the Great Recession. And they're like, this needs to start to become more financially viable for me. I need to start paying myself a paycheck that is commensurate with my expertise, experience, and effort that I'm putting in. Or maybe I should go and start to look at some jobs in the professional space because things are changing. The pay is going up. People have a lot more negotiating room. Work is becoming more remote and flexible. And so, maybe people have taken on a significant amount of debt, and now they're like, wow, I need to stop taking on debt in order to pay myself and grow my business. And so there's a real urgency there among women business owners as this time that we're in is ever evolving and continually uncertain. And they're realizing that all the marketing tactics that they've been investing in over the last 3 to 4 years haven't really gotten them where they need to be. And maybe it's time to start having a different conversation around skill set and competency and sales and not necessarily marketing or marketing tactics. So there's a lot happening for your people at any given point. And these are some of the things that I really impress upon the people in the Bold Profit Academy and give them resources to do. Like, are you regularly debriefing and collecting that data that you need to continually improve your messaging, how you communicate your value, the results that you get people? Are you speaking exactly to the relevant problems right now? I can tell you in the last week, I started this with saying, if you're somebody who feels like you have no leads, because in the last week, this has come up multiple times. It's also the thing we're talking about in the Bold Profit Academy right now. So if this is something that's resonating with you, this is a great time for you to join us. And you can do that by going to theboldleadershiprevolution.com/academy and join us. So as I'm wrapping this up, I want to roll out of here and leave you with some questions that you can be asking yourself around this topic. Question 1, how can you do a better job of identifying the leads you already have? Where is there low-lying fruit for you that can be converted into income, revenue right now? What are you willing to do to master the art of converting leads to buyers? Not necessarily the art of having a big audience, right? We want you to have leads, and then we want you to master converting those leads into buyers. Because if you can't convert the warm leads that you have, the people that you're already nurturing through social, through your email list, into a buyer, it's going to be really hard to understand how to convert less warm leads, cold leads, right? What assumptions have you been making about your buyers that are holding you back from making the sale? Like, for example, if Mike were to be like, well, if she can't even pick up a phone and call me, then she's not my best fit client or buyer, right? That would be an assumption that he's making because of something that he's feeling internally, right? I've triggered something in him by just not simply reaching out, instead of him going, oh, okay, how can I make this easier for her to connect with me? What hesitations might she have about getting into this conversation with me that I can address before we even speak? So what assumptions have you been making about your buyers that are holding you back from making the sale? Please know I believe in you and the power of small businesses to create infinite opportunities and income for not just you, but everyone around you. I'm really going all in on making Small Business Saturday every day in 2022. Who can you go and support today by leaving a review, giving a testimonial, sharing a piece of content, purchasing through an affiliate link, buying a product or service, not questioning someone's price or asking for a discount, and refusing to adopt a Walmart mentality? If we want to redistribute wealth and redefine capitalism, it starts with us. If you found this podcast valuable, help us develop more bold leaders in the world by sharing this episode with your friends, colleagues, and other bold leaders. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a review. I consider reviews like podcast currency, and it's the one thing you can do to help us out here at the Bold Leadership Revolution HQ. We would be so grateful for it. Special thanks goes to Stacey Harris from Uncommonly More, who is the producer and editor of this podcast. Go check them out for all your digital marketing and content creation needs. Be sure to tune into the next episode to help you embrace your ambition and leave the grind behind.